Hello, everybody. Happy Saturday afternoon. Hope yours is going well. We've got another Seahawks video to get to today, but first, we just hit 3,150 subscribers to the YouTube channel. Shout out to all the subscribers and special tip of the cap to all the channel members, especially new Elite channel member Austin Roberts. He joins the previous Elite channel members Brendon, Mikel, Hasher for MVP, VGK Tiger 75, Rye Guy, Salacious Crumb, Brendan Nelson's Haircut, TVO, It's Hoof, The Reno, and 12th Man. All right, we're going to continue on today with the cornerbacks, and I gushed a lot about the top-level cornerback prospects yesterday, the top-level ones the Seahawks could get. Well, that's not going to stop just because we move into the lower round prospects. Today we're going to take a look at cornerbacks who the Seahawks could get from the 4th round through the 6th round. And let me tell you, there is still some really good talent here. There are some really intriguing prospects. The first two I'm going to go over in particular would just be a dream to bring to Seattle. So we already know what kind of cornerback we're looking for. We went over it yesterday, so let's jump right in and start with prospect number 1, probably my favorite of this section of corners. Benjamin St-Juste of the Minnesota Golden Gophers. This guy has Seahawk corner written all over him, and if we decide not to use our first pick on a corner, I would love to use our second pick on a corner. I would even be okay with maybe taking a 3rd round pick on this guy. That's how much I like him. So Benjamin St-Juste, I couldn't figure out how old he is, but he's 6'3", 200 pounds, 80-inch wingspan. So very long arms. He's basically Richard Sherman with longer arms. 40 time is 4.51, so he's not fast, but I think we all know that is not necessarily the talent that we're prioritizing here. So his career, 2017, he barely played. He had 3 tackles. 2019, he did not play in 2018. 45 tackles, 36 of them solo, 10 pass deflections. So he made a lot of plays on the ball, and then last year he didn't play very much. It was obviously kind of a weird season. 14 tackles, 11 solo, and 3 pass deflections. Now, as for where he might get drafted, ESPN thinks he'll be a high 3rd round pick. Pro Football Focus thinks he's going to be a low 3rd round pick, so does the Draft Network. Pro Football Network thinks he's going to be a middle 4th rounder, and Walter Football thinks he'll be undrafted, which is crazy at this point. So Walter Football probably just missed the boat on this guy. I think that Benjamin St-Juste has a very good chance of actually going as high as the 3rd round. I don't think he'll go high in the 3rd round, but I do think he has a chance of being a top 100 pick. So even though I have him in the 4th to 6th round range for the purposes of this video, it would not shock me if we ended up trading around to get a low 3rd round pick and targeted Benjamin St-Juste. So what I can say about him as a player, he's probably the most Sherman-like cornerback in this draft. He should be a great developmental project as an outside corner. He is exactly like the Richard Sherman 5th round pick that we used a decade ago, and obviously we know what we ended up getting out of that. His length alone is enough to allow him to contest balls. I watched some highlights of him at Minnesota. He's just always able to get in there and break up passes and contest passes just because he's so long and so tall. He's an ideal fit for the cover 3, which is obviously what the Seahawks like to run, so he's a great fit for what we're doing. This guy is the definition of just a perfect fit for the Seahawks defense. He's a great tackler in the open field as well. Now, some downsides are he's not an amazing athlete overall. He's obviously not that fast. Other than the fact that he's really long and tall, he's got some athletic concerns, but that gives him something in common with guys like Byron Maxwell and Brandon Browner, as far as I'm concerned. Some of the more cerebral elements of the game need to be improved on. He needs to get more experience, basically. As you can see, he didn't play a lot in college. He also has some injury concerns. I don't think it's anything too pressing, but he did get injured more than once in college. So that's my favorite prospect of this range of corners. If Benjamin St-Juste is there in the 4th round, make it happen, bring him to Seattle immediately. Hell, trade up into the late 3rd round to try to get this guy. That's how good this guy can be. Love him. All right. Now, prospect number 2. This is Israel Mukuamu from South Carolina, the Gamecocks. This is another guy who I really like, and if he's there in the 4th round, I'm all over it. And honestly, I think you could make a pretty good argument that you could trade up to the late 3rd round to get him. He's my other favorite. This guy, he's another lengthy, tall corner, just the way Pete Carroll likes him. He's 6'3", 81-inch wingspan, 81 inches. That's one of the biggest wingspans you'll find at the position. Not a very good 40 time, 4.55, but once again, we all know what we're valuing there. He's also young, even for a rookie. He's 21 years old, so he's really young. He was born this decade. He was born this millennium. All right, so his stats, 2018, he played a little bit. 17 tackles, 13 of them solo, 1 PD, 1 forced fumble, 1 pick. 2019 breakout year, 59 tackles, 45 solo, 9 pass deflections, 4 picks, and 1 touchdown, so he became a real ball-hawking playmaker, which is something that even Benjamin St-Juste can't say. So this guy really learned how to go after the ball as a sophomore. And then in 2020, he didn't play very much, but he still had 2 picks. 10 tackles, 6 solo, and 2 interceptions. So the dude knows how to go after the football already, and that's valuable in and of itself. As for where he might get drafted, the Draft Network really likes him. They think he's going to be a late 3rd rounder. Walter Football thinks he'll go anywhere from the 3rd to the 5th. Pro Football Focus thinks he'll be a 5th rounder. So does Pro Football Network, and ESPN actually thinks he'll be around the 6th round. I believe that Israel Mukuamu will end up going in the 4th, which makes him a perfect target for the Seahawks if they don't use a first pick on a corner. So, yeah, this is the other guy that I really fell in love with when I was trying to scout corners in this range. He's very versatile. When he was at South Carolina, he played outside corner, he played slot corner, played free safety, played strong safety. If you draft this guy, you're getting depth at every defensive back position. He's very long, very rangy, with an amazing wingspan, obviously. I mean, look at this. This is the kind of stuff that I think gets Carroll really excited. And on top of that, unlike St-Juste, he's also a pretty good athlete. He's not fast, but he's quick. He's got a lot of attributes that would make him very appealing to NFL scouts. He knows how to play physically, and he's very good in zone coverage. So this guy, just like St-Juste before him, is an ideal fit for this defense. He's got great ball skills. If he's there in the 4th round, I'll say this right now, do whatever you have to do to bring him to Seattle. He does need to work on some stuff. His technique is not great. He would make some mistakes and then make up for those mistakes with his incredible length. He would still be able to make a play on the ball just because he was so long. His frame is a little irregular for a cornerback. He's 205 pounds on top of being 6'3", so he's a little bigger than the average corner. I don't think it'll be an issue, but his frame is not what you would typically see, even for a Pete Carroll-style cornerback. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when he goes to the NFL and starts playing against more talented receivers. But I love Israel Mukuamu, one of the best late-round prospects at corner in this draft. All right. Let's go to prospect number 3. And this guy, a lot of you guys will recognize, Keith Taylor Jr. of the Washington Huskies. This guy would slot in pretty well as an outside corner for the Seahawks. He's got the height, 6'2", 191 pounds, 23 years old, so he's a tiny bit older than you would like, but it's not an issue. His wingspan is good enough. It's 76 inches. You would like a little longer, but it's not terrible. 40 time is in line with what we saw with the previous 2 prospects, 4.54. And he was a consistently productive cornerback for the Washington Huskies over the last 4 seasons, particularly in 2019. But 2017, he had 8 tackles and 1 pass deflection. 2018, 15 tackles, 3 pass deflections. 2019, breakout year, 59 tackles, 5 pass deflections, and 2020, as all Pac-12 players did, he didn't play very much, 9 tackles and 1 pass deflection. Draft value would be, Draft Network actually really likes him. They think he'll be a high 4th. Walter Football thinks he'll go from the 4th through the 6th. Pro Football Network says he'll be a 5th rounder. ESPN thinks he'll be a fringe 7th rounder. Pro Football Focus thinks he'll be undrafted. So it's a little all over the place, but he's probably going to be about a fifth rounder if I had to guess. He didn't do enough in college to differentiate himself more than that, but his height alone is going to intrigue prospects. So, look, there are clear holes in this resume, but Keith Taylor Jr. is a very good tackler in pretty much all situations. His size and experience should allow him to start playing outside corner in the NFL very quickly, if not immediately. If we brought him to Seattle, he would have a chance to be a day one contributor, I think. He knows how to use his length to break up passes. Obviously, I watched pretty much every game he played, every time he made a play on the ball. He knows how to use his length. There are some things lacking in his game, like he sometimes gets caught looking in the backfield. And despite the fact that he has decent length and good height, he wasn't exactly a playmaker when it came to going after the ball. He had 0 interceptions in his 4-year career, and it wasn't for lack of opportunity. It was just honestly, watching him play, sometimes his coverage was good enough to prevent anybody from making any kind of play on the ball, no matter what. And that's a pretty good problem to have. I was watching, some of his highlights, and a lot of them are just, he had really good coverage, and the QB basically threw the ball 5 yards over everyone's head. But only 9 pass breakups over 4 seasons is not great, and no interceptions over 4 years is definitely not ideal. So Keith Taylor Jr. is not going to be an out-of-the-box stud, but if you put him in somewhat better situations, if you maybe put him in a zone defense where he could learn how to read the play and make plays on the ball, you might see something a little better. But Keith Taylor Jr. would be a project, not a sure thing. All right, so that's prospect number 3. Let's do prospect number 4. This is Elijah Griffin from USC, another Pac-12 player. This guy is also pretty interesting for the defense the Seahawks run. 22 years old from the Trojans. He's 6 feet tall, a little slight of build, but he can put on some weight, no problem, 175 pounds. Could not find his wingspan, which was really disappointing, but he seems reasonably long enough for Carroll to probably be okay with it. 4.53 40 time is, again, in line with the other prospects in this area. As for his stats, he had a 3-year career, 8 tackles and 1 PD in 2018, 37 tackles and 9 pass deflections in 2019, so a breakout year. 2020, he didn't play that much, but he did contribute 22 tackles, 12 solo, 3 pass deflections, and 1 pick. So first career pick in 2020. And his draft value is kind of all over the place. Pro Football Network thinks he'll be a 4th rounder, Draft Network and Pro Football Focus think he'll be a high 5th. ESPN and Walter Football think he'll go undrafted. I personally think he's probably going to be about a 5th round pick. Could creep up to a 4th just because he has pretty good talent, but I'm going to guess 5th round pick for Elijah Griffin. He's very competitive. He's a good tackler in the run game, so if you value attributes like being a good tackler, that's definitely the case for Griffin. He's got good length. I couldn't find his exact wingspan, but his length is considered to be at least decent. He wins at the line of scrimmage with his jams. He knows how to disrupt a receiver coming out of his break, so that's good. He's got pretty good ball skills. Despite limited playing time, he was able to make a good number of plays on the ball. He's very capable of playing well in zone if you take a look at the type of player that he is and the talent that he has. However, as of right now, he has mostly played press man. So if you brought him in to the Seahawks, he would probably take some time to transition to playing zone corner. He is somewhat injury prone, which is why he didn't play more in college, and he is slight of frame if you take a look at his weight to height distribution. He does need to bulk up a little bit, put on some muscle. But Elijah Griffin would be an intriguing prospect if we get to the 5th, maybe even 6th rounds, and we haven't addressed cornerback yet. So yeah, Elijah Griffin, definitely somebody to keep an eye on as the draft process goes on. Final low round prospect that I liked, Rodarius Williams from Oklahoma State. 5th and final. So he's 6 feet tall, 24 years old. So good enough in terms of height, a little older than you would like, but I don't think it's a big problem. Wingspan is okay, 76.5 inches, good enough. 40 time, 4.53, in line with what you would expect from a prospect at this level. And he was a consistent contributor across 4 seasons for the Oklahoma State Cowboys. As a freshman, he was a big-time contributor, 44 tackles and 10 pass deflections. 2018, 49 tackles, 40 solo, 8 pass deflections, and 2 picks. 2019, 58 tackles, 48 solo, 6 pass deflections. 2020, 18 tackles, 13 solo, 7 pass deflections, and 1 forced fumble. So all 4 years of his career, he was putting up good numbers and making big contributions to that Oklahoma State secondary. You're not going to see that with a lot of these prospects, so very productive in college. Walter Football really likes this guy. They actually think he could be a 2nd or 3rd round pick. But everyone else, Pro Football Focus says 4th rounder, Draft Network says 5th rounder, Pro Football Network says fringe 6th rounder, possibly 7th rounder, and ESPN says 7th rounder. So I think you're probably going to be able to get this guy in about the 5th round, if I had to guess, based off the information we have. His production is going to boost him despite his somewhat marginal talent. He's lengthy and he knows how to use it. Like I said, his length is not amazing, but it's good. He's good at the line of scrimmage. He knows how to put good jams on receivers and disrupt them when they're coming out of their stance. So, good stuff there. We know that we value that in Seattle. He's got good technique, which is something born of the fact that he has pretty good experience playing cornerback, as you can see from all these numbers he put up. He does have some slow reaction times on shorter passes. He seems to be very concerned about getting beat deep, so you can beat him for short and intermediate stuff because he's trying to get back, because he's not that fast and he hasn't learned how to fully utilize his talents in some of these areas. He seems to be mostly familiar with man coverage, which is probably the biggest red flag about Rodarius Williams. He's somebody who played a lot of man coverage in college. It would be a transition for him to play zone in the NFL, but he does have the body type that Carroll covets, and you would think that he could probably pick up zone relatively quickly. So that's going to do it, guys. Those are the lower round prospects who I like in this draft at cornerback. We went over 5 of them. I really like the first 2. The last 3 I like as well, but there are some caveats there. So once again, we are absolutely eating at the cornerback position. If we do not come out of this draft with at least one cornerback prospect that excites me, I will be very disappointed because there's great talent here. And with that, I'm going to get out of here. Peace out, go Hawks. See you guys in stream later. Maybe another video's coming. I don't know. We'll see if something happens. But, yeah, those are the corners I would take in the later rounds of the draft. Who do you like? Who did I miss? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Peace out.